Greetings and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble, and today we're going to be talking about Strixhaven, School of Mages, reviewing all of the Prismari cards in the set. In case you're wondering what the hell is Prismari and why am I here, well, I'm here because you found me on YouTube and I thank you for that. And Prismari is the name that Wizards has given to the blue and red class of magic, also known as Is-It, but we're on Strixhaven, a different plane, I guess. Or is Strixhaven the name of the school or the name of the plane, or both? Who knows? But I know we're not on Ravnica. So, Prismari is what they call it. Blue and red. So red and white seem to have a theme of making spirits and having a decent thing. That little 3-2 thing. Prismari, for some reason, their theme is expensive things that have like a pseudo-cycling ability. So without further ado, let's take a look. Alright, here we go. Creative Outburst. We're starting with a 7-mana card, like I said. So, deal 5 damage to any target, instant speed. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, one of them into your hand, the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. Or in a random order. That could matter. 7 mana, deal 5, and pick 1 card out of 5. No, that's expensive. It doesn't do enough, I would say. I feel like if you want to deal damage, then you should just get something else that deals damage. Oh, you should just run more red and less blue. This is not great. But they try to give you a little upside. You can pay 2, like, hybrid mana things, and discard it to make a treasure token. For those of you that don't know, treasure tokens are 0 mana artifacts where you can tap. Is it tap and sack or just sacrifice it? It actually doesn't matter, but it does matter. But you can definitely sacrifice it and make 1 mana of any color. So if you can't play it yet, I guess that's trying to fuel the more expensive spells later on, where you're gonna be, okay, I'm gonna, discard this and discard this to make 2 mana. Now I'm gonna cast my 7-8 mana spell, and then I'm gonna have to discard 2 more things to cast 1 more spell. Oh look, I'm out of cards in my hand because I discarded 4 things and played 2 things and have like some land on the board. Now what do I do? Was it enough value? Probably not. So, oh, look at that. Oh, a little single tier. No. So yeah, not a huge fan of this thing. And limited, you can try to get away with it because, like, 7 mana, sure, deal 5 and put a card in your hand is worth something. But, oh boy, I mean, I do not like that. That is, like, expensive and does not have the right payoff. Okay. And, like, my favorite 2-color combination is It. Like, is Prismari. No, Is It. Get out of here. This card's actually not too bad, so we're going to be able to address this one. But, like, it just feels bad having all these things that probably aren't going to see too much play. Theros is still a set. There's still a card. There's still a set that is in standard. Devotion is still a thing. Therefore, do not dismiss these hybrid mana things. They give you a lot of devotion. It can be relevant. Now that we get that out of the way. Elemental Expressionist. Costs 4 mana for a 4/4. Magecraft, where each kind of card has their own little Magecraft thing, but the trigger is always the same, whereas whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. That's Magecraft. Whatever follows after that is like the payoff for activating your Magecraft thing. Okay. So for this one, until end of turn, whenever you can choose target creature control. Okay. Until end of turn, it gains if this creature would leave the battlefield. Exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. And when you exile this creature, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. So you can see this as if this thing is on the board and you still have some mana and you can somehow play a spell, right? Your opponent plays murder, I don't know. They kill your creature. They play a kill spell on your thing. Instead of saving it necessarily, what you end up doing is you cast any spell, I'm sorry, this is specific to magic, so any instant or sorcery, and you just say, I'm gonna do whatever, draw a card, loot, I'm gonna do this thing and pay 7 mana and deal 5 damage. And also, the creature that you're killing now is going to be exiled and be replaced with the 4/4. It kind of saves a few things. It's not fantastic. Also, it's only until the end of turn, so you can't just have that lingering effect and then, slowly target all your creatures. It's just for the turn. So, it's interesting. If you want to try to protect against a board wipe, you're going to have a whole lot of cheap spells in hand, which is not what Prismari is going to be great for, but Opt, I guess, is still a card you can use. Thrill of Possibility, I think, is that the one? Where you, 2 mana, discard a card, draw 2. There's a few other things that you can play that are super cheap. So it's an option. In limited, this is fine. It's a 4/4 with upside. That's cool. It's actually really nice. Also, it doesn't have to die from, like, a kill spell. It can just die in battle. If you're trading, suddenly, hey, I trade and I have a 4/4 left over. That's upside. So pretty awesome in limited. In standard, I think it's just too slow and narrow for what it's trying to do. I don't think it's really great. If it gave it haste, I could see it working. Because you start like pinging off your own dudes. Shock my 1/1, it's a 4/4 haste. Shock my 2/2, it's a 4/4 haste. Play this like, okay, now we're talking. Doesn't have haste? No. Elemental Masterpiece, 7 mana! Yep. Expensive thing, create 2 4/4 blue and red elemental creature tokens. Honestly, for 7 mana, they could have flying. Just saying. And they also has the same thing. Oh, so it is tap and sacrifice this artifact. Cool, it tells you what treasure does. That actually doesn't matter, that it is tap and sacrifice. And we'll get to that later when we get to like a dragon to rival Goldspan Dragon, or to remind us of Goldspan Dragon, but not quite rival it because I think Goldspan Dragon is still better. Okay. So, for 7 mana, make 2 4/4s. I'm not impressed. That does not enthuse me at all. It's a common card, I guess. In limited, it's all right. If it could fly, that'd be fantastic. That'd be a great, like, you know, 4 out of 5 thing in limited. It can't. So, no. No. Even with the treasures thing. No. But Ruth passed with flying living colors. It says flying in the flavor text, and yet they do not fly. At least one of them should fly. Give one of them flying, give the other one island walk. I don't know. Ugh, yeah, that's the thing we're gonna see again, right? Okay. 2 mana, Expressive Iteration. Oh my god, this card's cheap. We have a card that costs 2 mana? I never thought I'd see the day. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand. Put one of them on the bottom of your library, and exile one of them. That's my interpretive dance. You may play the exile card this turn. My friends, this card's legit. This card is pretty good. We've seen the similar effect multiple times in, like, Anticipate, I'm pretty sure is what it is. Whereas that's an instant. This is a sorcery speed. But the payoff here, because Anticipate is like, look at the top 3 cards, put one in your hand, one on the top, and one on the bottom of your deck. This is one in your hand, one on the bottom, and the exiled one you can play. You still have to pay the mana cost, like, you know, of the exiled card. You're not going to get that kind of effect for 2 mana. Like, no. You still have to pay for it, but basically 2 mana, draw 2. That's good. You look at the top 3 cards and draw 2, like draw 2 of 3. That's a good card. This card's good. In limited, yeah, this is good. I mean, the fact that it says play and not cast means you can exile a land. Like, you look at 3 cards. You're probably going to see a land. A land's about a third of your deck, you know, give or take. Usually a little bit more. Unless you're playing a super aggressive deck where it could be a little bit less, but odds are, within the 3 cards, you're going to see a land, and you're going to see some other stuff. You exile the land if you haven't played one yet this turn. Guess what? That's the card you play. And you get the other card, one more card in hand, and the thing that costs 7 mana, and this thing you put on the bottom, because you're not going to be able to play it. Done. Done. Very nice. Very nice card. I like it. I think it's fantastic. Limited, yes. Standard, oh, hell yeah. Alright. Oh, and here's the Elder Dragon. That's going to remind us of another dragon. Galaxmari Prismari. So every school has their Elder Dragon, which their school thing is named after. So, you know, similar to Schmogwarts, where they have, you know, Godric Gillandor. Here we have Galaxmari Prismari. 4 mana, 3/4, legendary Elder Dragon with flying. Something flies, at least. When this thing enters the battlefield, you make a treasure token. So 4 mana, but you make a treasure thing, so kind of like 3-ish. Okay. Artifacts you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast instant or sorcery spells. So it's nice that it gives your treasure tokens the ability to just tap and not sacrifice themselves. It is important, this is why I mentioned that it's important here, that treasure tokens do have the tap sack ability on them, because if it was just sacrificed, then you could actually tap them with this ability and then sacrifice them with their own and make double mana, but you can't do that, so ignore what I said there. But it's okay. I mean, it's also nice that it's artifacts you control, so if you have an Embercleave or something, or if you have some ovens, suddenly they're also mana rocks, you know? That's cool. If you have some specific mana rocks or things that make mana, that make colorless mana, now they make colored mana. But that mana can only be used in instant sorceries, so you take what you get. It's okay. I'm not a huge fan of this. Like I said, if you can compare this to Goldspan Dragon, I feel like, and I'm pretty sure this is the right one, this the LSV comes in, makes 2 things, and then you, yeah. As long as I'm talking about the right dragon here, then this does not compare favorably. So I would rather run that thing. This is Interesting. You have to be running almost like a dedicated artifact deck, and if you have enough artifacts, then where are your instant sorceries? You see how it doesn't really line up there? If it was whenever it attacks make a treasure token, I could see that maybe working, but it only makes the treasure token on the ETB when it enters the battlefield, so no, I'm sorry. You're no Niv Mizzet. Okay. Maelstrom Muse. Oh, I guess I should say in limited, still this card's fantastic. 4 mana, 3/4 flyer. That gives you a treasure. That's amazing. In standard, though, okay. This is the weird hybrid thing where you have 1 and 1, and then they mix in the middle and form purple. So 4 mana, 2/4 flyer. Whenever Maelstrom Muse attacks, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X to cast, where X is Maelstrom Muse's power as this ability resolves. X less to cast, I'm sorry. If it was X to cast, like, hold on. So I cast it, but it actually cost X, but I have to put it on the thing to do. Okay, that's my wording was incorrect, and the card was going to be really, really weird for a second. No. So it costs X less. So you play this 4 mana thing. It's nice that it flies, so you can probably attack and not worry about it too much. Oh, look, I have new updates available. Nice. Thank you, computer. I'm not doing anything important right now. So you attack with this, and then you can cast something a little bit cheaper. It's worth noting, it is only the next instant or sorcery you cast, not everything else you cast for the turn. And considering you have to attack with this first, that means you're going to be doing that either post-combat, or you can do it in combat, sure, but after attackers are declared. I'll say that much. So nothing main phase 1 in that sense. Maybe you want to remove something first before you attack. It's probably not a huge deal, but because, you know, if you're attacking, you can probably use instant speed removal the same time, but also your opponent can kind of potentially force you to use the cheaper mana right away on like a counter spell if they try to kill this thing, and you're like, well, I really want to keep it alive. I wanted to discount this card, but unfortunately I can't do it because I need to save this creature now. So all right, I guess I'll, you know, counter this thing or buff my guy or whatever. So not a huge fan of this. In limited is okay. It's like a 2.5 out of 5 just because it flies. That's literally it. In standard, there's a weird, I don't know why you've seen a lot of like, is it, you know, Prismari cards where they want you to buff your creature to get a better effect towards instant sorceries. That's kind of strange. I don't know. It's like trying to put green in there, and green doesn't necessarily go on all these red and blue cards. So, what is that? Teamer? Let me just have this Teamer. So, I'm going to pass in both things. I pass on that card. Magma Opus, look at you. You're an elephant. You cost 8 mana, but I can pay 2 and discard it to make a treasure token. Woo! Oh, that's what we all needed. Okay. So for 8 mana, instant speed though, because you're going to leave of 8 mana and your opponent's going to be none the wiser. It deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. And then you tap 2 target permanents, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, draw 2 cards. So let me tell you. Let me tell you here. Okay. The 4 damage is okay. You're probably gonna kill 1, maybe 2 things. Maybe 2 creatures, maybe kill like a 3-drop, and then the 1 damage goes to the face. It costs 8 mana. There's probably not, maybe you kill 1 thing. Okay? If you're lucky you kill 2, you probably just kill 1. Tap 2 things, okay. That's valuable, I guess, because your opponent, if they're attacking with things, then you tap the things down, or if it's something, it doesn't have to be a creature, it could be something else, it could even be a land for all I know. Sure. You make a 4/4, okay, so it's pretty good at like stopping things in combat. Imagine your opponent is about to declare attackers. Magma Opus, kill this creature, tap those 2, make a 4/4, and I draw 2 cards. I'm going to imagine that you're tapped out at that point, so the 2 cards are kind of, you know, irrelevant for the turn being. Well, your opponent's attack is now just screwed, but you got to 8 mana, so do you really need to stabilize at 8 mana? I hope not. And if this is your huge 8 mana payoff, you're not doing it right, because there are 8 mana cards, there are cards that cost 6 and 7 and 8 that are better at winning you the game than this card. If there's any way to cheat this out, then you're set. Then you're okay, this is going to be a huge tempo swing. And in limited, this card's actually insane because of the huge tempo swing. So, geez, like 4.5 out of 5. You have to get there, of course, but if you get there, just survive to that point and you'll be okay. This is like the clapping emoji. Survive to the point. Okay. In standard, I want this card to work, but it just costs so much. Are you gonna ramp to this? I mean, you can if you somehow put a bunch of ramp, and then you manage to play this card, and it does draw you 2 cards, which means that you could probably get to more ramp or more of these. you might be able to chain these into each other and suddenly you win the game. I'd like to see that. I don't think that's going to be the reality, but God, I like to see that. So I'm going to give it like a 4 out of 5 in standard, which is a pretty high score right now, on the hopes that you just manage to get them to run together and just in that kind of Disneyland, you know, perfect, you know, in theory and practice are the same thing. In practice, not so much. In that kind of scenario. Okay. I actually love the design of this card. If it cost like 7, it'd still be fine. I don't, 8 really, just, why do you cost 8? You could literally just cost 3 red, like red, blue. I'd be okay. It'd be a really good card. But that's not what this is. Okay, multiple choice. Did I put this? I guess I put this in the Prismari thing because it has the watermark in the background. This may be in the blue review, and if it is, I'm sorry. But anyway, multiple choice costs X and a blue. So this is a very interesting card. If X is 1, this is like this is the multiple choice test. Okay, so the flavor here is astounding and amazing, and I'm sorry that I just remembered what it was. I realized it the first time reading it. Took a second for me to realize it again. Okay, now we're here. If you pay 1 for X, scry 1, draw a card. Okay, 2 mana, scry 1, draw a card, not great. Really not, it's actually opt, but you know, you pay an extra mana. If X is 2, you may choose a player. They return a creature they control to its owner's hand. So, unfortunate that you pick the player and not like the creature. So 2 mana, unsummon your weakest creature, I guess. You know, it could be relevant, and if you're playing this on curve on like turn 3, they may only have 1 creature on the board, so it could be worth it there if your huge thing is coming down and you really just need to make this one thing stick and you're good. Let's see. On the other hand, if you X is 3, you make a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. So 4 mana 4/4. Okay. But if X is 4 or more, oh, then things get spicy. This only costs 5 for X to be 4 or more. I don't know why it would be more than 5. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have like something where you have to pay more mana or whatever, I don't know. There's no benefit to having X be 5 or 6 or 7, but at least they said 4 or more. Then yes, option D is all the above, which is what you should go for every single time, because now you get your value. 5 mana, scry, and for the record, it resolves from top to bottom, right? So 5 mana, scry 1, draw a card, pick a player, they bounce a creature, you make a 4/4. That's worth it. It's just barely worth it, don't get me wrong, but it's worth it. In limited, I think you always take this just because of the options that you have there, where it's always playable. It's not always the best thing to play, and particularly that like X equals 2 is really not that great. But because your opponent gets to choose which creature they bounce. I guess if you want to like choose yourself and there's a card you want, then yeah, you have free reign to pick whichever one you want. But it could literally be like X equals 2, return target creature to its owner's hand. I don't know why they had to choose a player and not like bring it down in power level that much. But yeah, in limited, this is always going to be pretty good. In standard, yeah, I mean, you do only draw 1 card and make a 4/4, and the other part's kind of irrelevant. But I still like it. I still think it's like a solid card. It's like a 2.5, maybe 3 out of 5. Power level is like just okay. And cards that are just okay don't usually see play. But it might be alright. I mean, Graven Lore is a fantastic card, sees 0 play. Where you scry, like you can scry a bunch equal to your snow mana basically that you put into it, and then you draw like 3, I think it is. Yeah, it's better precognitive perception, which saw a little play at first, then was gone. And it doesn't see any play, so okay. Agyar, I like the card. I don't think it's gonna see any play in standard. This one maybe. This one probably not. Agyar Battleseer. If it was an instant speed card, yes. 5 mana, 3/4 haste, tap and scry 1. That's nice that you can, you know, do the tap ability immediately because it has haste, so you can do that. In standard, no, in standard it's useless. In limited, it's actually kind of cool because if you have other bombs in your deck, you can play it and then just use the constant scrying to try to, you know, dig for the card that you need or dig for the good card for the situation. So that's cool, and also it has a decent body, so it can also block things, and your opponent's not going to want to attack into a 3/4. So as much as they'd like to attack into like a 0/4, sure, I'll attack. One of my attackers doesn't get through, but I still get things like, you know, I'm still getting some damage in. Whereas 3/4, I attack, one of my creatures is going to die, and that's not really a sustainable, business model. I think you should reevaluate your things and then maybe come back and apply for the loan at a later date once you've really tightened up your assets. Gotta get that tight asset, right? All right, practical research. 5 mana instant speed, draw 4 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an instant or sorcery card. So, again, this is, did I mention this in the, I think this was actually in the Lorehold one, where you have kind of the, actually, instead of discarding first, you draw first. So this is more akin to the thirst for knowledge, thirst for meaning sort of thing, where you would draw 3 and then discard 1 unless you discard a specific card. So this is just the next step towards that. For 5 mana, right, you draw 4. Draw 4, discard 1, so it's like draw 3. This is pretty legit, honestly. This is like a real card. In, let's see, in limited, yeah, this is fine. Odds are in the 4 cards you're gonna get one or multiple instant or sorcery cards. And if, I mean, there's 4 cards you didn't have before, so you should be able to pick 2. They don't like discard a land and like 2 lands if you want to, or get rid of a useless instant or sorcery. Like, there's gonna be something you can get rid of. Yeah, this card's actually super nice and limited. In standard, I think it might just be like a touch too slow. Like 5 mana, pass, okay, end of your turn, draw 4 cards, discard 1. Sure, that sounds fantastic. It compares somewhat with was that Chemist's Insight? Was that the one? The 4 mana, draw 2 with the Jumpstart, you can play it again. But like 5 mana, like an extra mana is a lot of mana. But you get all the whole things up front. Actually compares really well with Chemist's Insight, because it's similarly like, 2 mana, 4 mana, draw 2, 4 mana, draw 2, discard 1. This is 5 mana, draw 4, discard 1. Yeah, that's awesome play. If there's ever, like, if there's some kind of combo deck where you play it in, in Prismari colors, or at least in that, and then you can win the game like turn 6 or 7, or you just stabilize super hard there, then it'll be okay. But 5 mana and maybe not doing too much is a lot to ask for. Limited might see some play, might see like 1 or 2 slots dedicated to it. I hesitate to say 2 because it costs 5 mana, but like you would see 2 Chemist's Insights, but you wouldn't really see 3 unless it was like freaking Simic Nexus, because you can get away with that because Reclamation. Anyway, Prismari command. 3 mana. Oh, they have the commands again, by the way. This is definitely not KDA, just so you know. There's no League of Legends going on here. You do not have to adjust your monitor. It's okay. So, choose 2. Deal 2 damage to any target. Solid. You can go face with that. Always going to be a good option. Target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards. Okay. Not a huge fan of that one. I mean, I don't know why hand destruction's in Magic now, but sure. Target player creates a treasure token. I'm not feeling it. That's not really worth a card to make a treasure token. It's usually just kind of tacked onto things, but alright. Destroy target artifact. Specific, kind of niche, but it at least means that it could definitely be at least a sideboard card in red and blue. If you're playing a Prismari-like deck, if you're playing an Izzet deck, yeah, stick it to the Prismari. I want to have like some kind of Prismari Ravnica crossover, and they just like fight each other. I want Izzet and Prismari to fight. I want like the same colored things to actually like go at it, because it's like, Izzet, Prismari, Izzet, oh no, oh my god. I just want that to be an actual in-game like canon battle that goes on, and not just one that happens between like the Magic community itself. Okay. Anyway, sorry, fantasizing out of the way. So let's see. Quite often, you're going to deal 2 damage to something, maybe kill a little thing, maybe not. It comes out of 3 mana, so, the timing's okay. And let's see. Unfortunately, you're probably often going to have to pick the treasure token and, like, have an extra mana. If you're playing the super expensive things, okay, you can kind of say that it's worth it. I killed your creature, and I have an extra mana now to use one time. Sure. But you don't want to just say, okay, that's alright. You want to have, like, a really big impact with commands, even though all the abilities are kind of toned down. You get to pick 2. Unfortunately, only one of them is really that good. If your opponent's hand is empty, I guess the second one can be decent to just mill them to, but that doesn't really seem that worth it. If there's any reason you want cards in your graveyard, maybe you have, what is it, Unearth? It's Unleash, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Unleash. Then I forgot what the name was that they gave the cards in Theros, where they come back from the graveyard. Then I guess you can do something with the second ability. I guess you could also, if you have expensive cards and you don't want to, you know, pay 2 to discard them and make a treasure token, then you can just discard them this way and draw cards. And if you play this in like the cycling deck, sure, you can just throw away cycling cards and buff your Zenith Flares a little more. It's an option. I don't like it. I don't love it. It's okay. I think you're really only gonna put this in like your sideboard and throw it in if your opponent's playing artifacts. You can get like deal 2, destroy an artifact. That's legit. Kill a creature, kill an artifact, you're okay. Against mono red, kill the Embercleave and kill like a Fervent Champion. Now we're all right. Kill a Rimrock Knight. I don't know. All right, Prismari Pledge Mage. Oh, I guess in limited this card's all right. It's not. In limited actually is fine if you're trying to ramp up a little bit, so like 3 out of 5. In standard, sideboard card like 4 out of 5 sideboard because it's pretty legit for the deck. Because how often do you get artifact removal in red? Oh, always. Sorry, but it's still pretty legit there. Main board, I wouldn't run any copies in the main deck. All right, this card, 2 mana 3/3 Defender. Oh. But, Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, this thing can attack as if it didn't have Defender for the turn. Okay. No, am I gonna... for some reason I thought I was gonna compare this to something else and I wasn't. So, for a second there I was going to compare it to a card that hopefully we all know, maybe the classics among us might know. A little something called Delver of Secrets. It is a 1 mana 1/1. And I believe, I forget the exact wording, but at the beginning of your turn, whatever, you reveal the top card of your library, or maybe you can. If it's an instant or sorcery, you can flip it, and it becomes a 3/2 with flying. And at first, the card was met with such huge ridicule. Oh my god, this card is useless. Why are you going to put a creature in with all these instant sorceries and try to get the trigger to go off? Are you trying to win on the ground, or are you trying to win the creature damage, or with like instants and stuff? Like, what are you trying to do? There's no identity with this card. It doesn't fit in any deck. It's a fun idea, but it's never going to work out. Turns out they were dead wrong, and the card is amazing. Okay, the fact that you can just 1 mana get a 3/2 flyer. Oh, that's huge, right? Yeah, that's huge. That's what it turned into. There were a lot of decks that would just run it, and when it would work. And even if it didn't, 1 mana 1/1 is not a huge investment, you know. And you can reasonably go like, you know, a turn or two, not hitting something and still feel okay if you hit it later on or not. Okay. Now I'm gonna compare that to this thing. This thing sucks. No, but but there's something that came to mind. So 2 mana 3/3, okay, that's really good. And in blue and red, which is like kind of unheard of. If this was green, I'd say this is terrible because green has plenty of things that are overstated for the cost with no drawbacks. Let's see. I mean, Steel of Champion, done. But Defender, you have to play an instant or sorcery spell pretty much every turn. You don't have to because it can still block and it's not terrible, but play it pretty much every turn. You want to be aggressive. You could put this in a deck where you have a lot of burn spells to go face, and then some card draw. Kind of almost goes alongside Arclight Phoenix. Not in standard anymore, but you know, it kind of got the same vibe. You play something every turn, you get the Phoenixes back, this thing can attack. Yeah. Limited, I wouldn't play this because quite often it's going to be a 3/3 that you can't do anything with except block, which is kind of cool, but like you don't want to just block. But in standard, you could try. You could try to make an aggressive thing. And I guess you could put this in a mono red deck too. And just like, let's see, instant or sorcery. So Rimrock Knight with the buff is an instant spell. So you could do that and buff something, obviously before you declare attackers, and then attack with this thing. It's pretty strong. That's a pretty strong thing, I'm not gonna lie, it's got some potential. Ruth, Mercurial Artist. She's an artist. She's an art major, so probably not so good. I don't know. It's just probably, you know what, it's gonna be tough finding a spot in the deck. You know, I'm just saying we only have so many spots available, and while your certain expertise is valuable, it's just not what we're looking for at this time. Perhaps you'd rather go for like, you know, a gallery or something, or you know what I mean. Just all more power to you. I wish you the best in your ventures, and I'm pretty sure you're the person in the background artwork. Okay, 3 mana 1/4. Legendary cost, you can pay 2 mana and return Rutha to your hand, or to its owner's hand. Copy target instant sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So rather than, you know, having to have, you know, the other card in your hand, you know, reverberate, twin cast, or whatever it is, you get to keep this on the board and have the constant threat looming of I can copy something, which is actually pretty interesting when you get into like a counterspell war. Your opponent plays a thing, I counter it. My opponent plays something in response to that. I pay 2 to return Rutha and copy my counterspell that's still on the stack to counter the recent thing you just played. Oh. I play big, you know, Magma Opus? Magnus Opus? I think that's what it was called. The one earlier with the elephants that it was like, it was a pun, but it was like, yeah, I think it's Magnus Opus. And put an extra 2 mana into it and you copy it. The fact that it can just be on the board for a little while and you don't have to hold it in your hand and hold the mana the entire time is nice. I mean, sure, your opponent's going to see it, but at the same time, like, okay. In limited, it's not great as a 1/4, but the fact, like, you can also, let's see. Do you have to target something? Yeah, you do have to target something, so you could potentially save itself if it's being, like, damaged. I'm going to play this spell and then bounce it back and save it, and then I'm going to play it again later on. So it can always protect itself that way, but the timing is going to be a little iffy sometimes. I like it. I think it's a cool card. I don't think it's really, like, going to see much play at all, don't get me wrong, but it's a cool design, and it's going to be, like, it can absolutely be the core, be the absolute beating heart of some meme decks. Guaranteed. Meme decks, meme potential 5 out of 5. 20 out of 5. You know, Omega Lol out of 5, whatever. Standard 1.5. There might be one deck where it sees some play, and even then, it's not going to be great. Like, I played a 3 mana 1/4. Where is my life? Okay. Oh, we got a little flip card. Look at that. Alrighty. So Rowan, Scholar of Sparks. This is the other side is Will. As you see, it even says Will. This is not Force of Will. This is just Will. So there's no force behind him. Trust me. He's very forceless. 3 mana for a 2 loyalty planeswalker. Honestly, the biggest effect is actually the passive here, or static ability, whatever you want to call it. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Or in the deck where all your stuff costs so much, this is pretty big games. This is pretty relevant, right? All right. So that's pretty nice for 3 mana. It's okay. You know, we've had other things like, what is it? Goblin Electromancer was I believe did a similar thing. We've had similar effects before that are okay. This is on a body that can also get a little more value. So I say body, it's a planeswalker, not a creature, but you know, +1. Rowan deals 1 damage to each opponent. If you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, she deals 3 damage to each opponent instead. Interesting. The likelihood of you drawing 3 or more cards in a turn, not great, but at least you have a +1 that does something. Sure, it doesn't affect the board, but it's something you can always do. Something you can always do and get some value off of instead of like, +1, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Okay, well, if I don't want to discard a card, then it's +1, do nothing. Oh, that felt bad. Alright, -4, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 2. If you do copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. Wonder where they got that idea from. Oh wait, not just card, other cards? Cool. So, it's alright. It's nice that, you know, you cast an instant or sorcery spell for 1 less, and you can pay 2 to copy it, so that's pretty cool there. It helps kind of like fuel itself a little. I like it. I think this is the better of the 2 sides, honestly. I might change my mind when I see the other side, but I'm pretty sure this is the nicer one. Even then, it's not like amazing. So, but on 3 mana, oh, and to -4, you actually have to plus this thing twice. Ugh, at least twice, unless you have some other way to buff your, add loyalty to your planeswalkers. That's tough. Quite often, it's going to be 3 mana, deal 1 damage. That sucks. If you can somehow like keep this thing alive on turn 3. Then you're good, because hopefully you can just cycle through a bunch of things. But here's the issue. So you want to have that aura, you know, static ability that decreases the cost of your instants and sorceries. So unless you have something next turn that costs like, that would normally cost, let's see, 3, 4, that would normally cost 5, and you can play it 1 turn earlier, which is nice. Just, it's possible, it's feasible. Maybe you have the, actually this combo is really well into the draw 4, discard 2, unless you discard an instant or sorcery. Then you can trigger the plus, like the deal 3 instead. that's kind of a neat little synergy it has there. But otherwise, like, if you're gonna try to play a bunch of cheap things to get to draw cards, well, then you're not getting much of a discount because maybe it only costs like a single blue or a single red and there's no discount on it. And if you're trying to play more expensive cards, this might not survive that long. Oh, geez, and trying to play this and the one at the same time, you're gonna need like 10, 11 mana. Oh my god. There's potential there. I don't think it's gonna work out. In limited, it's not even all that great, but if you can protect it, sure, it chips away at your opponent. In standard, I honestly think it's going to see a whole bunch of nothing. Will, Scholar of Frost, 5 mana, starts with 4 loyalty, the same passive, so it compares pretty bad right now. +1. Up to 1 target creature has base, power, and toughness 0-2 until your next turn. At least it can protect itself that way. You'd say that creature there does nothing. Cool, alright. 5 mana, it affects the board in some way. It sort of removes a creature. Thank you. -3, draw 2 cards. That feels pretty bad. I don't want to pay 5 mana to draw 2 cards. That's usually the thing that costs 3 mana that never gets played anyway. So, pardon me there. Excuse me. It's just you can see that I'm not agreeing with this one. -7, exile up to 5 target permanents. For each permanent exiled this way, its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. Not an ulti that runs away with the game immediately. This is not the Teferi ulti, this is not the Nissa ulti, this is not a big other kind of Chandra ulti. This one says, I'm gonna make 5 4/4s, and unless they all have haste somehow, then on the following turn, I'm gonna try to attack for game. I'm gonna try to swing for lethal. Hopefully you have some creatures on the board already, otherwise, surprise, these are the first creatures you have, and your opponent already has some blockers, and you're gonna have to chip away over a few more turns. That's assuming that you exile your own things. No, it does say target permanents, so you can of course target some extra land if you have it, which I don't know if you have exactly extra land because you're playing spells that cost so much in this, you know, Prismari thing. You could play it in just like a mono blue if you wanted to. Hell, who am I to tell you how to run your life? And also, it could be a few things that are just kind of sitting around. You can, of course, exile some treasure tokens if they're just chilling around. So that works. Or just some random artifact thingies that have, you know, fulfilled their purpose. Omen of the Sea or Omen of the Sun. Those are pretty good targets, right? And they already see a decent amount of play in Yori Index, so that'll work there. Okay, not, like I said, not a game-breaking, game-blowing out of the water. I guaranteed win now. Ulti. If you're playing this unlimited, you probably just do win because making 4 5/5s and then, you know, you probably are fine. Otherwise, like, it's okay. At least it protects itself a little bit, but it's gonna take 3 turns to plus, and then on the 4th turn after that, you get to minus it? Ugh. Okay. I mean, at least she... The big thing is that the passive ability. I think that's the biggest thing on these 2 cards. And she just costs less. So unless you're playing mono blue, then I would just go with the other one. Okay, Spectacle Mage. 4 mana, 2/2 flyer. Instant sorcery spells you cast with 5 mana value or greater. Cost 1 less to cast. So specifically, it has to be expensive things. Otherwise, it's just a 3 mana, 2/2 flyer. This affects all instants and sorceries. This only affects ones that cost a lot. It's nice that it curves really nicely. So if you play this on curve, turn 3, I play this. Turn 4, I play a 5 mana instant or sorcery. Cool. You know what? The flow is there. It flows really nicely. And so for that, we thank you. Now, for that, limited is okay. I mean, if you have enough things that it'll benefit off of, sure. Even if you don't, this is like a 2.5 out of 5. This is like a decent bear with wings. So you put an extra mana point in there for the flying. In standard, I think, like, cool, you can stack it for sure. But how many of these do you really want in your deck? Not too many. No, I don't like it. I don't like it. Get out. 0 out of 5. Leave. You look so nice though. Like, you look very well groomed, you know, and you look very hopeful and cheery. You're a good person. You're not fit for the job right now. The position has been filled. I'm sorry. But I wish you best of luck in your future business ventures. Okay, I don't know why suddenly deck building is now like trying to get a job, but it is. In this economy? Alright, anyway. Stormkiln Arsonist. Artist. But apparently now I want to set things on fire. Who knew? Hope this doesn't awaken something in me. 4 mana, 2/2. Gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Okay. And Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, make a treasure token. So you play an instant or sorcery, you make a treasure token, it's an artifact, it buffs this guy. That's kind of cool. He costs 4, not anywhere near what you should be. It should just cost 3 even, and it still would see 0 play. So 0 play. Teach by example. Ooh, some hybrid mana in there. Look at that. It can cost like whatever it wants to. It could be 2 blue or 2 red or a blue and a red. That's about it. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it. So just usual copy thing. Usually see 0 play, but it's nice that they made a hybrid. I guess that's kind of cool. That's a thing. So in limited, get out of here. How often are you gonna do that? Not often. Just leave. In standard, we can leave too. Okay, Torrent Sculptor. Oh, look at you. Okay, Torrent Sculptor. Cool. It's a flip card. 4 mana, 2/2. Ward. Oh, this is the first time we're seeing Ward. Oh my goodness. Okay, Ward 2. In whatever that card is, the Great Glass Spinner is like Kira or something, or Mira. It's not Mishra. Well, anyhow, that's an effect that was on that card that is now been given a keyword. So whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays, in this case, 2. Whatever ward and the number, that's how much they have to pay in order for the spell not to be countered. Worth noting, they can still cast the spell. If there's anything that activates on cast, then it'll still go through. It'll just be countered. Similar to how things that can't get countered, you can still cast your counter spell, it just kind of gets countered by the creature. It self-negates it, but it does still go on the stack. So something to note there. Alright, now beyond that, when this enters the battlefield, exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on this equal to half that card's mana value rounded up. Well, so far the most expensive thing we saw was Magma Opus. I think there's a Magma, not Magna, but Magma, because like red is Magma, you know? Red is fiery. Arson, right? So Orson Welles, that's the thing. Orson Welles, he wrote books. I'm pretty sure he was an author. Words are colliding in my head. Anyway, so 8 mana, you can potentially give it like, you know, let's imagine the ideal scenario. Turn 2, you pay 2, discard it to make a treasure token. Turn 3, you use the treasure token, whatever, to play this. You exile that 8 cost thing to get this +4/+4, and you basically got like turn 3, 3 mana, 6/6 on the board. That kind of protects itself. That's actually really damn good. That's actually really strong. Oh, that's really strong. Your opponent has to pay 2 more to kill it. Oh, wow. Turn 3, and then they turn 3, and they have to have like a 1 mana, or potentially whoever went first, 2 mana kill spell. Which, I mean, 2 mana kill spells exist, sure, but oh, that's not likely to happen. Okay. This is a very aggressive card. Potentially a very aggressive card. If this ever works out, you're going to be feeling pretty good. In the case where it does not happen like that, and you end up with a 4 mana or like a 3 mana 3/3 or something, you feel pretty bad. I mean, yeah, look at that, it has ward. Yeah, look at that, it does nothing on the board either. Okay, but in that scenario, 10 out of 10. Let's see. Flamethrower Sonata. Discard a card, then draw a card. When you discard an instant or sorcery card this way, it deals damage equal to that card's mana value to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Worth noting, it does not go face. Also worth noting, it is a sorcery. So, you know, no combat trick, no surprise, I kill your thing. So you have to decide, well, do I want my card? If you don't have anything in the graveyard, obviously you just do this one. If you do have something in the graveyard, do you want to buff your thing there? Or do you want to, you know, do this thing and maybe kill something else? I like how it gives you both options here. And if you have multiples of this is not legendary, sweet. Then you can, of course, use the Flamethrower Sonata to fuel the Torrent Sculptor to have, like, you know, more power and toughness. That's pretty nice. But it can only hit creatures and planeswalkers. They're trying to make up for the fact that all the cards are expensive as hell. Because inflation is a thing. Like, is it really worth it at that point? I don't think it makes up for it. Don't get me wrong, I like the design of this card. I think this is fantastic. They're really just really well put together. And I mean, flavor and like feeling wise, like 10 out of 10 there. In standard, I'm gonna give it like a 3 out of 5. I think it can see some play just because guess what? Turn 3 6/6 is huge. in red and blue, no less. But beyond that, 2 mana, discard 1, draw 1, and kill a thing. Hopefully kill a thing. Alright, we'll see. We'll see. Alright, oh, this should be the last one, these 2. Oh, because I think there's like a couple with U in the name. I don't know. Uvilda, Dean of Perfection. 3 mana, 2/2. You can tap her, yes. When you tap her, you may exile an instant or sorcery card from your hand and put 3 hone counters, not home, but honing in, on it, on the card you exiled. It gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If this card is exiled, remove a hone counter from it, and when the last hone counter is removed from this card, if it's exiled, you may cast it. It costs 4 less to cast this way. So, kind of basically like, not Storm, I'm trying to remember, Suspend. Essentially, it's the same thing as Suspend. You tap this, you pick a instant sorcery from your hand, you suspend it. And then you remove the counters. How many? Is it 3 home counters? Yeah, at the beginning of your upkeep. Oh, it takes a while. Jeez, that is a long time to get a payoff on it. By then, you can probably just play the card. But having it be 4 less to cast is nice. And I guess you can do it every turn and kind of like structure things out there and be like, okay, I'm going to get that one a few turns and that one and that one. And then when you get all the payoffs, like, it's kind of cool. But, god damn, 3 mana for that? That's expensive. This thing is often not going to survive. Unless the effect is useless, in which case, sure, let it live. It's not doing a damn thing anyway. So, I usually like the blue cards. It's my favorite color, in case you couldn't tell. But, I don't like you too much. Let's see if you can be redeemed on the other side. Also, the 4 less to cast is nice. Maybe something costs like 1 or 2 at that point, but you gotta waste at least 3 turns. Ugh, feels bad. Nasari, Dean of Expression. 5 mana, 4/4. Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library until the end of the turn. You may cast spells from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Nasari, Dean of Expression. This is the side you're going to play. This one, I like it. I like the artwork. I like the floof. I'm a big fan of the floof. And then you get the little tentacle thingy coming around or whatever. It looks like a tentacle, I don't know. And then you get the floof, though. I like the floof. It's kind of like a piratey look almost, you know, because of the floof. Alright, I just like saying floof, honestly. And ruffles have ridges. But I think this one is really the one that makes the card, like, worth something. So, yeah, just exile the top card of each opponent's library. If they do anything to set the card on top, it's gone. Cool. You just ruin their draw, you know, whatever. And let's see, it does say cast. So if it's a land, then oh well, better luck next time. But if it's not, geez, you get 1 thing to go off, you add a counter to her, and now she's a 5 mana 5/5 that can only grow. This is value. This is pretty good. Don't get me wrong, you're not always gonna hit, like, you know, the dream cards. So 5 mana that eventually gets somewhere, not so great. So in that case, like in standard, maybe you might see 1 or 2 of these in a deck somewhere. It might be a mono red deck, it might be blue and red, who knows. In limited, you want to play this. If you have the option of playing this card, you play this card. Both because, like, you know, it can run away with the game, and also because your opponent only has so many cards in their deck, and there's a potential to mill them out if you just keep buffing this anyway. There's a way to make it work. Okay, is that it? Yes, we did it! We did it! We got through the things! Oh my goodness, all the things! I gotta get through so many things. What do I have to do so many things? The time is now. Damn. Okay, so, thank you so much for tuning in. Please feel free to leave any comments, suggestions, opinions in the comments. You know, comment in the comments. Wow, original thought, right? And without further ado, good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.